all of you around the world joining us live here in the Zoom room at the World Storytelling Cafe, hosted from Marrakesh by Walid. Hi, Walid. All of you who are watching live on the stream on Facebook, on YouTube, and all of those of you who are watching the recording as well, because this storytelling for peace is not just for today. For all of you, you might be watching it later today, the 24th of December 2023, or you might be watching it over the next few days, or some of you might not be able to watch it at the moment. And when I say that, I'm thinking, among others, of people who are in Gaza, in Palestine, because today we are storytelling for peace. It's a global event. We're talking about peace in every sense, personal, global. But we are mindful of what's happening in Palestine. And for that reason, today's event is a fundraiser for medical aid for Palestinians, MAP. And you can see behind me and behind Simona Stambazzi, who's also hosting today, you can see links for donations. So if you would like to make a donation, you can hold up your phone and use the QR code if you're very technically minded, or you could just use one of those two links. The first link I know works in the UK. If you use PayPal, if you don't mind using PayPal in the rest of the world, that's probably the easiest way. So I'm going to tell a story in a moment to start the ball rolling, but before I do that, let me introduce the co-host for today, our friend Simona Stambazzi. And it's an important day for you, isn't it, Simona, because of your project, Words of Kindness?
Yes. Thank you, everyone who's watching, either live or as a recording. Um, this is really something very important for me to be here and co-host with David this event about peace, because it's something I feel strongly about. But also, today is the last day of my storytelling advent calendar. And for 24 days, we've shared stories. 24 storytellers from around the world shared stories about kindness, which is something very intertwined with peace. So, yes, I'm really glad that on the last day of the project, we are hosting this event.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be one of the storytellers in that project. It's just an honor. Every day I've just woken up thinking, who's the storyteller today? Oh my goodness, it's Ansuk is joining us. Hello, Ansuk. I haven't seen you for so long. Here's Ansuk all the way from South Korea. Fabulous. You're with us. That's wonderful, wonderful. And so, yeah, the last story, the final story today from Words of Kindness was Mindy Neo in Singapore, telling us one of my favourite stories, The Magic Garden. It's so fantastic. So it's been an absolute blessing to be part of that project, Simona. And it's not the end, really, is it? Because again,
No.
like this stream today, it's available in perpetuity on YouTube. So check it out. So let me begin with our first story today. And you'll see that I'm holding up a candle. And I'll have this candle lit during the whole of the event today, mindful of the need for peace. And the story that I'm going to tell, I learned from a girl called Malak. So many of the stories that I'm telling these days, I learned from children from Gaza. And I don't know, Malak, how you're doing. I don't know the circumstances of the children whose stories I've been telling. But my wish is for safety for all people in Palestine and all people around the world. The Wise Shah. You may have heard of Alexander the Great. Well, warriors go down in history, powerful conquerors. He conquered many lands across Asia. Alexander the Great took what he wanted, plundered, stole, seized power in many lands, and those who resisted were quashed. But he came to one land where he met no resistance. It was a land where everyone was welcomed, a land of peace, harmony, and equality. And he heard that it was ruled by a Shah who was beloved by his people, a wise Shah. Well, Alexander the Great was invited to the court of this Shah, and he arrived at the court and he was invited to sit down and eat. And there was a bowl of fruit and nuts which shone like gold, and when he reached and picked up what he thought was an apple to eat, he found that it was heavy and he couldn't bite into it, because indeed it was made of pure gold. And the wise Shah appeared. "Welcome, Alexander." "What's the meaning of this? Welcoming me with fruit that I cannot eat?" "Oh," said the Shah, "what I had heard was this is what you consume, gold." Alexander was perplexed. What's going on here? At that moment, into that chamber stepped two men, and they were arguing with each other. Although the words were not angry, they came forward to the Shah. "We have a disagreement. Please solve. It's a question of justice." And the wise Shah, whose people loved him, looked across at Alexander the Great and said, "I'd be interested to know what you would do. Tell me afterwards what your advice would be, but let me consult with these two men, because, after all, this is the land that I look after." One man was holding a box, and he opened the box. It was full of gold coins, and he said, these gold coins, this box full of gold coins are his. They are yours, he said to the other petitioner. "They are your box of gold coins." "No," said the other one, "that box of gold coins belongs to you." And the two were arguing. "What's the story here?" said the wise Shah. And the first one said, "Well, I was digging and I found this treasure chest and I opened it and it was full of gold coins. But the gold coins are not mine, because this chest was under land that my friend here had given me because he had more land than I do. But because those gold coins would have been in the land when the land still belonged to him, they are your coins," he said to his friend. And the other one said, No. I gave you the land and what comes with the land. So when you dug up the coins, they belong to you." And they continued to argue. And Alexander the Great was shaking his head. What's going on here? And the wise Shah looked at Alexander and looked at the two countrymen and asked them questions. And soon he learned from listening to their stories that both of them had adult children. One had a son of marriageable age and the other one a daughter of marriageable age. And it turned out that this son and this daughter liked each other well. "Would they consider marrying?" said the Shah. "I'm sure they would." "Well, then the gold can be shared between the two houses." "Oh, yes." And the two petitioners were glad and nodded. What wise advice. And now the Shah turned to Alexander. "What would you have done?" Well, I think you all know what Alexander would have done, don't you? Alexander said, "Why, I would have seized that box of gold coins. They didn't want it anyway, and if they complained, I would have had them thrown into a dungeon. What is mine is mine. Everything is mine." "Ah," said the wise Shah. And when Malak told me this story, she said this phrase. She said, "Do unjust men deserve such blessings?" Alexander realized that he could not conquer a land where the people loved their leader so much, where there was so much harmony and peace and equality. He could never win that. So, bemused, confused, Alexander went on to his next conquest. And the realm of the wise Shah, they continued to live in harmony, equality, and peace. So I tell that story which I learned from Malak, and Malak comes from Palestine. She comes from Gaza. Oh, you can't see it. She comes from Gaza. Oh, you still can't see it. It's because I've got my green screen on. Oh, well, you know where Gaza is. Oh, welcome, welcome. People are coming into the room. I'd like to welcome people into the Zoom room. Some of you might be able to see them. I'm not sure if you're on your on Facebook and YouTube who you can see. So I'm just going to tell people who's here. Welcome to Nyana, who's here from Massachusetts, and Arm Sook, who's here from South Korea. Manuela Kelly, are you in Italy or in England, Manuela?
I'm in Italy, David.
Not far from Florence, right?
Oh, not far at all.
And Gerhard Erasmus. I'm not sure if we've met before, Gerhard. Where are you?
I think we might have met. I'm currently in Taiwan.
In Taiwan. Fantastic. Okay.
Thailand.
Well, you'll have to tell me later where we might have met because I'm interested to know. So wonderful. So in a moment, Simona and I are going to be taking turns of hosting. But what we would like to invite you to do, all of those of you who are in the room, is in the chat, just let us know if you'd like to tell a story or a poem. You don't have to tell us the title unless you would like us to introduce the title. And, and we'll probably more or less go in the order that comes up in the chat. But it might happen that people come into the room because we're going to be here for the next couple of hours. We're hoping to continue until 4 p.m. UK time. So for 3 hours, this event runs. And some people might come in who can only stay for a short time, or might have connection issues. So it might be, we're expecting people from many different parts of the world, that somebody comes in and they jump in and tell a story quite quickly after they come in. So it's not going to be a fixed running order, but just a more or less, who comes first. So please do write in the chat if you would like to tell a story this afternoon. And if you're in a hurry because you need to be leaving again, then let us know that as well. But I'm very happy, we're very happy to meet somebody here in the World Storytelling Cafe, I think for the first time, and that's Jumana Moon. Jumana, would you like to continue by telling a story or telling us a poem?
Yes, thank you so much, David. Really nice to see you and everyone else as well. Really nice to be here on a rather grey, overcast afternoon in East London.
I thought you were in London.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in East London, yeah. So this story that I'd like to share is I just quickly thought of it. It's quite a short story. I think it's a very precious story. It's a story from the heart of our tradition. And it's a story that I would really, that I think is dedicated from the beginning to all children, and that in the telling now that I would like to dedicate to all children. So it's a true story, actually, from the very earliest days of the first Muslim community in Medina. And if you go to the Prophet's Mosque in Medina now, it's a very grand place. It's absolutely vast. And the mosque is built of marble. And the carpet is green and covered in flowers. And the roof opens when in the morning time. It's such a fabulous place. And outside around the mosque, they've increased the prayer areas by building these parasols that open and then close at night. I mean, it's incredible. Marble, carpets. But I want to take us back to when that building was first constructed, and it was so simple and very small. The pillars built from split palm trunks with dried palm fronds laid over them for a roof, and the courtyard, no parasols, no carpets, just the courtyard open to the bright blue Hijazi sky. And I want to take us to a scene where the earliest Muslim community are praying behind the very best Imam, Prophet Muhammad himself, upon him be peace. And the Prophet is leading the prayer, and everyone is following the Prophet as he prays, upon him be peace. So standing, bowing, making prostration. Standing, bowing, making prostration. And at that point of prostration, when our foreheads are touched to the ground, it's called sajda, and it means adoration. It's the very closest point you can get to the divine in your prayers and in your physical movements. So as the people are praying and they're following the Prophet, upon him be peace, they go into sajda and they can't see what's going on because their heads are down. But the Prophet doesn't make the call to stand up again. The people are in sajda for what feels like a really long time. They're starting to get a little bit uncomfortable even, because they're in sajda for so long and they don't know why. Finally, after an incredibly long amount of time, they sit up and they finish the prayer and they ask what happened. And what happened was this. But while the Prophet was in sajda himself, at that greatest point of adoration and connection with the divine, toddling into the mosque came his two grandsons, Hassan and Hussein, the sons of Fatima and Ali. May Allah be pleased with them. Hassan and Hussein came toddling into the mosque, and they see their beloved grandfather. And yes, he's leading the prayer, and yes, he's the leader of the Muslims. He's just their beloved grandfather. And they go over to him and they start climbing on his back and they start playing. And they're climbing on his back and they're sliding down and they're rolling over his back. Their beloved grandfather, Muhammad, upon him be peace, he's just the playground right now. And they're having such a wonderful time. And so the Prophet doesn't move until Hassan and Hussein have stopped playing. He doesn't stop praying until they've stopped playing. And so he says to the people, I didn't finish the prayer because Hassan and Hussein were still playing on my back, and I did not want to disturb their play. And so the play of these children was at the very heart of the prayer, at the very heart of the mosque, at the very closest point of dedication and prayer to the divine. And this sent such a powerful message to the community, and it sends such a powerful message to us still now. Without the play of the children, well, without playing, can there really be any praying? And in praying, there should always be the play of the children at the very, very heart of it.
Thank you very much, Jumana. What a beautiful story. Jumana, I'm keeping a record of the stories that are being shared today, and I'd love to know what title you might like to give that story, so I can.
I think we would call it. It's a true story from the Hadith. It's a Hadith that is not disputed. It's in Islamic history and the records of the life of early Medina. I think we just call it. It can be called the long sajda or the play of Hassan and Hussein. It could be called either of those, I think.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful
Simona.
story, Jumana. Thank you. It was a very powerful story to start with after David. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll go next. We'll fly from the UK to Italy, where Manuela is going to share a story with us, a story from Mexico. Is that right, Manuela?
That's correct, Simona, and thank you. I recently learned the story from a Mexican student, and apparently it's a tale that dates back to quite a long time, 1830, something like that. And it's about a plant. And do you know the name of this plant, Simona?
I know.
Oh, you
It's called a
know.
poinsettia.
Yeah, in Italy, we call it Stella di Natale, the Star of Christmas. And I didn't know the real name, which is poinsettia. I'm not sure. How do you pronounce it, David? The correct way?
Oh, the correct way. I call it poinsettia, but I'm not sure if that's the correct way.
Well, it's your way. And so in Mexico, at Christmas time, people decorate their houses with this plant. They don't have mistletoe or holly like you might have in the UK, or maybe a Christmas tree like we have in Italy. In Italy, in recent years, the poinsettia has become very, very popular. And so this plant, I went and had a look, are native to the plants. The poinsettia plants are native to Central America, especially an area of southern Mexico, known as Taxco de Alarcón. I'm not sure, apologies for my my Spanish, and they flower during winter, as we know. The Aztecs had many uses for them, including using the flowers, the leaves, which are red, known as bracts, rather to make a purple dye for clothes and cosmetics. So I've been discovering lots of curiosities about this Christmas plant. But the tale I'm about to tell you comes, it's a legend in Mexico. This student told me it as the miracle of the poinsettia. So, story.
Tell us a story.
Thank you, David. I learned this incipit from you. Once, not twice, not three times, but once upon a time, there was a poor Mexican girl, and her name was Pepita. Pepita had no present to give the baby Jesus at the Christmas Eve service. And this, again, was a tradition in Mexico. Every Christmas Eve, people would take presents to the baby Jesus, to the nativity on the altar. Some would take biscuits, others would take precious cloths, and others plants and flowers. Poor Pepita had no present to give the baby Jesus. And as Pepita walked from her village to the chapel, she was very sad. And her cousin, Pedro, approached her and tried to cheer her up. Pepita, he said, don't be sad. I'm sure that even the smallest gift given by someone who loves him will make Jesus happy. Pepita didn't know what she could give. So she looked around as she was walking down the road to the chapel, and oh, there were some weeds on the side of the road, and she picked up these weeds, and a lady passed and dropped a leaf, and she picked that up too. And she started to make a little bouquet, and she wrapped the bouquet of weeds and this big green leaf in her handkerchief. She felt embarrassed because she could only give this small present to Jesus. But she continued, and as she walked through the chapel to the altar, she remembered what Pedro said, and she began to feel a little bit better. And when it was her turn, she knelt down and put the bouquet at the bottom of the nativity scene. And as she opened her hands and placed the bouquet at the bottom, suddenly the bouquet of weeds burst into these bright red flowers. Big leaves, scarlet red. And everyone who saw the scene was sure that they had witnessed a miracle. And from that day on, the bright red flowers were known as the Flores de Nochebuena, or flowers of the Holy Night. And that's my tale from Mexico. Thank you for listening.
It's our favourite Christmas flower too, Manuela. I think we've got at least two in the house at the
Yes.
moment because it's very popular at Christmas. Is it
It
is
has
it
become
popular in
now.
other countries as well? I wonder. Do you have is it
Oh,
in
yeah.
Italy? What about in South Korea? Do you have poinsettia at Christmas? Maybe not. Maybe not. What about in
Yes, in the
Taiwan?
winter time, we love poinsettia at home because it is so red and looks warm. Yes,
And it
we
has
love
the star,
poinsettia.
the shape of the star.
Yeah,
Yes.
fantastic.
401, you're asking the wrong person. I don't notice flowers, sorry.
Well, here we are, storytelling for peace, the 24th of December. In so many parts of the world, we're celebrating the night before Noche Buena, Christmas Eve. But all, of course, traditions are welcome. And the next storyteller, am I right, is going to be Gerhard. And your son, Gerhard? What's your son's name?
His name's Sebastian. He's sitting on the side.
Okay.
Would you say Sebastian?
Yes, that's correct.
Hi, Sebastian.
Hey.
What we'll do is I'm going to try and keep it short-ish. I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you the story I'm telling you. It's not my own story. And then Sebastian will translate it, and then we're going to read a poem. I'll do it in English, and Sebastian will translate it in Chinese. It is a poem that comes from a poetry book from that the Hunter Project published by Gulga Fatima, which I do think also contributes to the idea of peace.
Wonderful.
And actually, Dave, I'm not sure if I know you from either ITEF or the Hunter Project or the British Council, but at some point I know we've met, and I cannot recall how. I've been thinking
It would
about
have
it.
been one of those two strands.
One of those, yeah, for sure. All right, so just a bit of background to this story. I think a lot of us have been quite reflective over the last odd number of very difficult weeks, I guess. And I think discussions I've had with people quite frequently over the last few years, but especially more recently, is the idea that, for example, if you talk about race being racist, that there's this dichotomy that exists where we go, so you get people that are racist, they're bad, and then you get the good people who are not racist. And my argument to that is that just saying I'm not racist doesn't make you good. It purely puts you in the not bad category, but it doesn't make you good. And to actually be good, you need to be anti-racist. You need to be completely against racism. And I think the same kind of thing goes with peace. You cannot go, I'm against peace, but you can also not just say, oh, well, my life's peaceful. That just puts you in the not bad category. You need to actively think about generating peace for other people. Otherwise, you're not in the good category. So this story, like I said, which is not mine, focuses on that. So it whether you want to call it, I don't know what's it called, anamorphism or personification. I think I've mispronounced the word actually. It is about animals. So the story is this: there's a farmhouse, and there's a mouse in the farmhouse, and the farmer's wife comes home with her husband. They've gone to the local market, and they've bought a mouse trap. And the mouse sees the mouse trap and he's very worried. So he runs to the chicken and he says to the chicken, the farmer's wife has bought a mouse trap. She's going to kill me. And the chicken says, well, I mean, you're a mouse. That's your problem. It's not my problem. Mouse traps don't kill chickens. And the mouse is like, but you're my friend. And the chicken goes, yes, but I can't do anything about it. It's not my problem. And then he runs to the sheep, and the mouse says, chicken says it's not his problem. Can you please help me? The farmer's wife bought a mousetrap, and the sheep says, well, no, sorry, again, not my problem. The mousetrap isn't for me. And then he runs to the cow, and he says, well, the chicken and the sheep don't care, but there's a mousetrap. The farmer's wife bought a mousetrap. She's going to try and kill me. Can you please help me? And the cow goes, well, again, I agree with what the chicken and the sheep have said. It's not my problem. So the mouse is now very, very worried. He goes back into his little hole in the kitchen, keeps a very close eye on the farmer's wife. She sees where she puts the mousetrap. It's one of those that snap closed. She puts a nice little bit of cheese on it. And now the mouse is going, let me please not wake up tonight and be carried away by the smell of the cheese and get dragged into this mousetrap. But he's petrified. Just lying in his little mouse bed at night, sleeping, very, very worried that he's going to have a dream about cheese and he's going to get caught in the mousetrap. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, there is this, and the mousetrap closes. So the first thing is the mouse wakes up going, I'm dead. I've been tricked. And then he realizes, wait a minute, I'm not actually in the mousetrap. So he runs to the little hole. He looks out. The light goes on. The farmer's wife looks down to see if she's caught the mouse. It isn't a mouse. It's a snake, a very poisonous one that bites her. The farmer rushes her to hospital, and she's very, very sick. A few days later, she comes back. She's still very, very sick. And the farmer goes, well, I have to take care of my wife. Now, the best thing when you're sick is chicken soup. So the first animal that dies is the chicken, because he's got to make chicken soup. And a few days later, she isn't better. And they realize after they've spoken to the doctor that she's inevitably going to die. So he calls her family over. He calls her neighbors, and he says, look, you need to pay your respects. You need to say goodbye. There's nothing we can do. So they all come over. They pay their respects. They say goodbye. Now, there's so many people at the house, they have to have something to eat. And the best thing for that's lamb stew. So the sheep's gone also now. And then they get the hospital bill. They get the funeral bill. And the farmer goes, I can't afford this. It's really a lot more than I expected. And he's got a friend who has a restaurant in town. And the friend says, look, we're always looking for steak, beef stew and things. Sell me the cow and I'll settle your hospital bill and I'll settle the funeral bill. And the moral of the story is the next time you say it's not my problem, think very carefully if it is or not. Now, my son is going to tell exactly the same story, but in Chinese. So if you are sharing it, you can share this with the Chinese audience also, because I think it's a very good story.
Well, thank you so much, Gerhard, because this event, I should have made it really clear. We should have made it's absolutely welcoming all languages. So to hear a story told in English and in Chinese, that's a real pleasure for us. And even if somebody out there thinking, I'd like to tell a story in my own language without telling it in English, that's okay too. All languages are welcome. So Sebastian, we're looking forward to hearing the same story again.
I'm going to switch over to him, and as soon as he's done, I would like to read Fatima's poem, if you don't mind. And my son's going to do that in Chinese as well. But let him first tell you the story in Chinese.
Brilliant.
Okay. So I'll do it in Chinese. Oh, Mandarin, I guess. So there's wait, I'm supposed to speak Chinese. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. 有一对夫妇，他们有一座农场。 他们在农场里面有个家，他们家里有一只老鼠，那老鼠都会偷偷吃他们东西。于是他们这些夫妻决定要把这只老鼠杀了，所以他们去买了一个捕兽夹。买了捕兽夹，那老鼠看到了，发现啊，完了，这夫妻想要把我干掉。于是老鼠想要找别人帮忙，所以首先他去找了公鸡，他对公鸡说：啊，公鸡，帮帮我吧，这农场的夫妇他们想要把我杀了，该怎么办？可以帮帮我吗？公鸡就说：啊，反正这不干我的事，我不需要帮忙。所以呢，老鼠发现公鸡没有要帮他，于是他去找了绵羊。他对绵羊说：啊，羊啊，拜托帮帮我吧，这农场的夫妻想要把我杀了，但是公鸡不愿意帮助我。绵羊想了想，对老鼠说：啊，反正我认同鸡说的，反正根本不干我的事，我干嘛要帮你？于是老鼠找到了牛，他对牛说：羊和鸡都不愿意帮我，你愿意帮我吗？这农场的夫妻要把我杀了。但是牛也认同他们两个的说法，觉得这件事不干他的事，反正捕鼠夹根本不会对他做出任何伤害。到了晚上，老鼠就从他的那个洞里面一直往外窥，他很担心半夜闻到那个起司的味道会不会就梦游，结果就走进了捕鼠夹，所以他整夜睡觉都不敢轻举妄动。到了半夜，蹦，很大声，捕鼠夹抓到了东西。老鼠醒来，以为自己死了，结果没有。他发现，从那个洞往外看，发现哦，原来是蛇被捕鼠夹夹住了。那只蛇有毒。夫妇想要往前看的时候，被那只蛇咬了。那个妻子被咬了，她的生命就很危险，于是把她送进了医院。但是呢，发现医院好像治不了她，而她的老公就想说啊，我的妻子生病很严重，于是他决定煮一碗很健康的鸡汤，希望他的妻子可以好转。于是鸡就死掉了，被拿去煮鸡汤了。但是发现哇，他的妻子没有好转，他确定应该是要死亡了。于是他们决定办了一个告别式，所以他们邀请了他们的邻居、还有朋友、还有家人一起来吃饭。吃饭有这么多人，当然就是要吃点好料。于是他们把羊拿去煮，拿来吃了。
谢谢。
他们的那个追悼会结束以后，他的丈夫花了很多钱在医疗，以及他要为他的妻子办葬礼，而这些都要花非常多的钱，所以他们决定卖掉他们家的牛给城市里面的一家餐厅，而那家餐厅会帮他们付医疗费还有葬礼费。所以当你想一件事情跟你完全没有关系的时候，请你要三思。Okay, thank you. I'm
Oh,
finished.
thank you, Sebastian. Do you also have a Chinese name?
Yes, I have a Chinese name.
What's
and
your
an English
Chinese name?
王炳轩.
Oh, thank you so much. What a delight. Can we all give a wave to hear the same story told in English and in Mandarin Chinese? Absolutely fabulous. Gerhard, you said you've got a second story. I'm just
Well,
wondering.
no, I would like to read Fatima's poem in English.
Is it okay? Is it a short one?
Yes, it's very, very short. And
Yeah, go.
Sebastian's going to translate it.
Fantastic.
And then I think Manuela just said her students also translated it, so it might not be bad to actually have if she wants to say it in Italian, that might be good. But in any case, so Fatima is from a poetry competition that the Hands Up Project had, and I just think
Wonderful.
her poem is really, I mean, on the topic of peace, I think it's a really nice poem. So I'm going to read it. Here we go. Eyes are for looking and seeing sun. Tongues are for greeting and saying fun. Legs are for walking and also run. Hands are for shaking with friends, not for shooting a gun. And I'm going to have Sebastian tell you that in Mandarin.
眼睛是用来感受温暖阳光，嘴巴 是用来沟通谈吐芬芳，双脚是用来跑跳玩耍奔放，手掌是用来握手建立桥梁，不是拿枪。Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
David, thanks for having us. I'm going to stay on, but I'm going to mute myself.
Wonderful. Sebastian and Gerhard, it's delightful to meet you both. Thank you for joining us. Storytelling for Peace, all the way from Taiwan. Simona and I are hosting this event through the World Storytelling Cafe. Some of you might be wondering, where is John Rowe? John Rowe is being Santa Claus at this moment with his long white beard, as you can imagine. So Simona and I are hosting. It's a fundraiser for medical aid for Palestinians, but it's storytelling for peace in the most global humanistic sense. Simona.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to hear both the story and the poem in English and in Mandarin. And thank you, Manuela, for saying that your students translated the poem in Italian. Do you have it in Italian and you want to share it?
But have I unmuted? Yes. Yes, Simona, I'd love to. Fatima participated in the competition, which the Hands Up Project organized about a year ago. It was May time, and this was Fatima's poem, and I took it to my students on the 7th of October when Fatima was killed together with her family. And we're trying to get it said in as many languages, and that the poem travels around the world to let people know about Fatima and her family. This was her teacher's desire. So thank you, Simona, for giving me the opportunity to tell Fatima's poem in Italian this time. Occhi sono per guardare e vedere il sole. Lingue sono per salutare e dire divertimento. Gambe sono per camminare lentamente e anche correre. Mani sono per stringere con gli amici, non sparare con un fucile. Thank you.
Grazie, Manuela. Thank you. All right. So this time,
Can I just say,
we
if anybody else would like to give that poem in any other language during today's event, just let us know, because it's very short and it would fit beautifully at any moment. So we've had it already in English, Mandarin Chinese and Italian. So if any more languages you'd like to recite that poem, that would be wonderful. And if anybody would like to just put the poem in English in the chat so people have a chance to translate it, that would be
David,
amazing.
I think it is there. I'm going to give it to my mom, and she can do it for us in Afrikaans, but not immediately. Give her a few minutes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I put the poem there in English, David, and here it is in Italian.
Do you want to have it in German?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Right now, or?
Are you ready with it right now, Mechthild?
Yeah.
Yes, please, in that case.
Okay. Augen sind da zum Schauen und die Sonne zu sehen. Zungen sind da zum Grüßen und Lustiges zu sagen. Beine sind da zum langsamen Spazieren und auch zum Rennen. Hände sind da zum Händeschütteln mit Freunden, nicht zum Schießen.
This is in memory of Fatima, who died recently in Gaza. So, are we going to... by the way, Simona, can you add Nicholas to the list of people ready to tell a story?
Absolutely,
Nicholas
absolutely.
messaged me
Yeah.
directly just a few moments ago.
That's
And
perfect.
after
So
who's going to be after Nyana, Simona?
Nicola's going to be after Nayana. So we've got we're flying to the US and we're staying there with Nayana and Nicholas. Nicholas, you're in the US, right? Perfect. So we're staying in the US for 2 stories, and then we'll we'll be flying elsewhere.
Please
with
write
the
in the
following
chat if you'd like
stories.
to be telling a story during today's event.
Yes, also let us know if you're in a hurry, because we are making up the order as we go and we can change the order. So if you're in a hurry, just let us know and we'll try to give you the chance to tell the story sooner. So Nayana, please tell us a story.
Thank you. Good time, everybody, no matter where you are. And thank you for this opportunity to share stories around the world. I'm going to tell you a poem, a little bit about my story, and then end it with a song that I've been singing to keep my spirits up, because it's such a difficult time for all of us. And the poem I'm going to read to you just left my computer. Wait a minute.
Take your time, Nayana.
You know what? Are you familiar with the poem that says, it's the same poem that goes with the story about the mouse? It's the exact same story. And I'm going to have to, it starts out with they came for the, you could put any nationality, and they came for the Muslims, and then they were gone, and they came for this person, and then they came for that person. But finally they came for the Jews, and there was nobody left. And I will get the poem and put it in the chat, but it's a poem that is the exact same story, so maybe somebody else has it. And
Nicholas is holding it up, I think, Diana. Is that right? Okay. If you can look on your screen, you could pin Nicholas's box if you knew how to do that.
I see you. Well, okay, well,
Diana, we'll come back to you when you found the poem.
Okay,
but Diana, can I make a request?
Yep.
Because Diana I know very well, and I know Diana is wonderful, a wonderful peace activist, and has this wonderful song. And I'm just wondering whether you would be willing, Diana, to share your song, because it is the most wonderful song that we can join in with.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, that's what I would like to do. I would be so honored. I plan to stay here the whole time. I would be so honored if I could tell my song now. Yes, and please. End with a song also, and do it like bookends. My favorite stories when I make a story, I try to find a song to go with it. So these are two songs. The first, and in between these two songs, someday will be a story. The first song is Let Me Be an Instrument of Peace by St. Francis. Let me be an instrument of peace. Let us all be instruments of peace. Let us all be instruments of peace. Let us all be instruments of peace. Now, I have to tell you, I used to be worried about not sounding good. I don't care if I make mistakes. We all sing, and our voices are all important. And there's no such thing as a right note or a wrong note. All of us are part of a chorus, and we need every single frequency. So if you're singing with your friends or your children and your voice breaks, or you don't like how it sounds, or it's too high or too low, it's like we're all artists, and there's no right or wrong. There's just beautiful, and there's just soul. So I have been singing the song called Let Go by a woman named Ali Halpert in the United States. She's a young woman. And after singing for many years about wanting to be an instrument of peace, my heart was so broken that I was beginning to physically feel broken. And I can't live like that. So this is the song that I want to share. It's the chorus of a bigger song. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen,
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 baby.
baby.
We
You
don't have to carry the
the
weight
weight
of
of the
the world in our
in our
muscles
muscles
and
and
bones.
bones.
Let
Let
go,
go, let
let
go,
go,
let
let go.
go.
I'll do it one more time. I'm going to sing real slow, and please join me with David.
Yeah, switch on your mics.
So the first thing is take a big deep breath so you feel that you have your energy in your air. Loosen, loosen, baby.
baby.
We don't have to carry the
The
weight
weight
of
of
the
the
world
world
in
in
our
our muscles
muscles
and
and
bones. Let
bones.
go,
Let
Let
go,
go,
let
let
go,
let
go.
go.
let go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
David, if you are ready, my mom has now looked over the poem and she can do it in Afrikaans if you're happy for it.
What do you think, Simona? Afrikaans? I think that sounds amazing.
Yes,
Let me
and
switch this over the
I
computer.
think also Rebecca is translating it in Spanish, so we
Yeah.
might have Spanish later on.
Fantastic.
Okay, okay.
Hello, what's your name?
My name's Annette.
Annette. Welcome, Annette.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't think Fatima in her wildest dreams thought that this poem would be translated in one of the indigenous languages of South Africa. I'm from South Africa. Okay. For those that understand Dutch and maybe a little bit of Flemish would understand most of the words. Oë is gemaak om te sien, om die son te sien. Tonge is gemaak om te groet en vreugde te bring. Bene vir stadig stap en ook om te hardloop. Hande om hande te vat of plat te skud met vriende. Nie om met gewere te skiet nie. Thanks. Okay.
Thank you. Well, we're already up to 4 languages. I'm sure we're going to have a few more by the end of this program. Fatima's poem just seems to be a wonderful theme to run through.
It is.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Gerhard. Thank you, Sebastian. Simona, where are we going next? Is it back to the States, to Nicholas? I've just
absolutely.
I'm just getting to know Nicholas in the last week or so because I've been sharing a story every day on Facebook, a story that we learned here at the World Storytelling Cafe from children, mostly in Gaza, some in the West Bank. And I've been going back through the archives and finding the videos and resharing them and re-listening and just relearning some of the stories. And it's just absolute joy and delight and, of course, full of emotion as well to be wondering about the children who shared these poems and how they're doing. I've been communicating with some of the teachers in Gaza over the last few weeks. Some have managed to keep in contact with me, some haven't. I'm always asking myself what's going on with the people I've befriended. Nicholas, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, David. And Simona and everybody, hello. This is Mika, by the way. Mika, can you say hello, everybody? Oh, wonderful.
Hello.
So thank you. I'm very happy that we can be here at this time, even though it is a hard time. I do have a story, and I'm happy. This story, I was in Austria a few years ago, and I heard this story from a cow, and I loved it. Would you like to hear it? All right. It's an old story from also influences from other places, but an old Austrian story. So once upon a time there was a castle, and in the courtyard of this castle there was a great tree. And in this tree there sat and sang a beautiful golden bird. And when this bird sang, there was peace in the kingdom. There was joy and there was contentment. And the king and the queen reigned justly. In the village below the castle, there was a farm. And in that farm there was a small boy and a girl, twins. And one day for their birthday, when they were young, they received a small farm animal as a gift. Someone tell me, what small animal do you think they got? Someone tell me.
A lamb.
A lamb. Good guess, but not quite. Anyone else?
Foal.
That's a horse, right?
Yeah.
A puppy.
A little froggy.
Puppy.
No, not a foal, not a foal. Nayana, what do you think?
A little froggy.
A froggy. Good guess, but not quite. Who else?
Mouse.
A mouse.
Mouse.
No, but there are lots-
Ansuk said piggy.
No, not a piggy. No.
Maybe a cat.
Yumana? No, not a cat. Not a
A
cat.
chipmunk.
No, not a chipmunk, but good guess.
Calf. A calf.
Yes, a calf, a calf, a cow, a small cow. Yes. And so they received this small cow. And the children grew up with this cow. And they became the best of friends. And they would play all kind of games. And they would play tag and hide and seek in the fields. But this was a special cow. This cow had a star on her forehead. And this cow spoke to the children. And this cow taught the children a song that they sang all the time. And this was the song. Hola Dio, hola Dio, hola Dio, hola Dio. Can you try that with me? Hola Dio, hola Dio, hola Dio, hola Dio. They would sing this song every day. One day, terrible news came from the kingdom that the golden bird in the tree had been stolen away by a terrible creature. A dragon had taken the bird and taken her over the mountains, across the sea, into his den, into his cave, inside a mountain of fire. The land was without its bird, and the land was sad. And so the cow came to the children, and the cow said, "Let us go and bring back the golden bird." And the children said, "But how? That's impossible. It's too far. It's too dangerous." And the cow said, "Don't worry. I'll help you." And with that, the two children sat on the cow, and they held onto the horns. Everyone, hold on to the horns! And they rode the cow, they rode the cow, ride the cow, they ride the cow until they got to the mountains. And the children looked up and they said, "Oh, it's too dangerous. What are we going to do?" But the cow said, "Don't worry, I'll help you." And with that, the cow took her horns and she began to push. She pushed the mountains aside. She pushed the great mountains aside, and they made a path through the mountains. And they walked through. And then They kept walking and they got to the sea. A great sea. And the children said, "Oh no, it's a great sea. We don't know, we cannot cross." But the cow said, what did the cow say? Someone unmute and tell me.
Look inside my horn.
Look inside my horn?
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. I have something in my horn that's very special. I will help
There are
you.
Magic
many
powder.
stories with magic properties inside cows' horns.
Maybe, but and don't worry, I'll help you. Let's all say that. Don't worry.
Don't worry,
I'll help you.
I'll help you.
And with that, the cow bent down and she began to drink. She drank and she drank and she drank and she drank the whole sea until it was dry land and they could safely walk across the sea. Until they came and they saw in the distance the great mountain of fire. And it was hot and fierce, and the children were afraid, and they said, "Oh no, it's too dangerous. What can we do?" But the cow said,
Don't worry, I'll help you.
exactly. And what do you think she did? Who has an idea?
All the water already.
Yes! Everyone, take it ready. Blow up the fire. Ready? With the water. Can you all make the sound of the fire going out? Unmute, unmute, unmute. Fire went out. And they walked and they got to the edge of the cave. And they heard the dragon inside, and they peeked in, and there was a ferocious dragon inside the cave, and behind the dragon was the golden bird. And the children said, "Oh no, there's a dragon, it's so dangerous. What can we do?" Cow! But the cow said, what did the cow say?
Don't worry, I'll help you.
No, that's not what the cow said. The cow said, no, that's too dangerous. You're on your own on this one. Oh, sorry, that's too hard. What would you do if you were those children? What would you do? Niana, what would you do?
I would start telling that dragon the most amazing stories. And he would get so excited and so sad that he'd start saying, "That reminds me of a story." And he would start telling stories. And while he was busy telling his stories,
You tell the dragon a story. Interesting. Interesting. Who else has an idea? What would you do if you were those children? The cow is not helping.
Following David's idea, maybe we can unscrew one of the horns of the cow and find something magical inside it.
That's what they tried. They tried to unscrew the horn. They tried to unscrew the horn. They tried, and the cow just... They tried and they tried. There was nothing in the horn. Good idea, Simona, but there's nothing in the horn. Anyone else? Who else? What would you do if you were at the dragon's
Maybe sing the dragon a lullaby.
Yes. And that's what the cow said. Do you remember that song? Do you remember that song I taught you? Sing that song. And from outside, afraid and worried, the two children began to sing that song. Hola Dios, Holadio, holadio, holadio. Can you sing with me? Holadio, 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 holadio. And the dragon, listening to that story, fell asleep. And the children tiptoed aside, and they walked around the dragon's feet and the dragon's teeth and the dragon's tail, and they took the bird back under their arms, and they walked back to the cow who was waiting. And they got on the cow. Everyone get back on the cow. And they rode back to the castle. Everyone ride back to the cow, ride all the way down the mountain, through the sea, through the mountains, back to the castle where the king and the queen were. And when they came back, the king and the queen were so happy. They were so grateful, and peace came back into the land. And so the king and queen, of course, they celebrated. They had a celebration. Now, for a celebration, what do you need to have a good celebration? Who knows?
Music. A good song.
Music. Yes, they called in the best musicians of the whole land. They called in everybody, and they had a dance there in the courtyard around the tree with the golden bird singing. Are you ready, everyone? We are now going to dance with the children and the cow and the king and the queen. So what we're going to do is this. I have the musicians right here, and we're going to follow my dance first, and then I'm going to call on you, and you're going to change the dance. Are you ready? Here we go! All right, everyone, your shoulders. Good! All right, hands. Nice! Okay, Simona, your turn, change. Yumana, your turn, change. Yes! Rebecca, your turn, change. Nice! John, Sundell, your turn, change. Gerhard, your turn, change. No, Gerhard, your turn. Nice. All right, Gerhard, now the girl next to you. Your turn, your turn. Yes! Good! Milana, your turn. Baba C, your turn. Good. Yes. The lady from South Korea, An Suk. Thank you! Suzanne, your turn! Yeah, take us home! You turn, Simona, yeah! And the cow told the other cows, and the other cows, and they've been telling that story for hundreds and hundreds of years. And when I was walking around my grandmother's, up the mountain behind my grandmother's house, I saw a cow, and she told me that story. Thank you. And now I've shared it with you.
Thank
Nicholas,
you so much,
that was
Nicholas.
something else. Thank you for getting us all dancing. I was feeling a little bit somber. What's going on in the world? I think we're all feeling very somber, but it's lovely to also just to let go, like Diana said, let go, let go, let go, and just dance it out. Yeah,
I'm sorry I'm
muscles
speaking
and
out of
bones
turn,
are
but
carrying so much at the
that was
moment.
maybe the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh, that was fantastic. This is really, this is great.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, can Simona and I remind everybody, if you haven't told your story yet or sung your song, to write in the chat if you would like to in the coming minutes. We're suggesting anything up to about 8 minutes long would be perfect. And there might be time for people to come back in and do something else a bit later on in the event if time allows. But who's next, Simona?
I think Ansuka has just written in the chat that she'd like to tell a story and that she'll have to leave soon. So I think we're flying all the way to South Korea and listen to a story
this is
by
exciting.
Ansuk.
This is exciting.
Hello,
I haven't heard one of your stories for so long, Ansuk, and you're one of my very favorite storytellers in the world. So I'm so excited to see you again.
Long time no see. Merry Christmas and thanks a lot, Nicholas and everybody. So now I prepared a very short story, not practiced. So my English, David knew. 3 travelers and a shrine to the village god. In Korean, 새 나그네와 선앙당. Village deity or village god. Old days, every village has that kind of very special space. Once upon a time, 3 travelers was walking down the road. As the sun set, there was no human dwelling nearby, and the area is very notorious with tigers and knives. So they have to find somewhere to stay overnight. Only they found an old shabby shrine to the village god. So they decided to step in. As the creaky doors swung open, the inside of the shrine was dark and the air smelled musty. But they decided but they discovered the space just enough for 3 of them to lie down before the altar. So they stepped in and decided to rest on. The oldest traveler said when he stepped into the shrine, "Grandson, where are you? I'm planning to spend the night at your place tonight. Give your grandpa a warm welcome." As soon as he uttered the words, the strange place became very friendly, and he felt as if he were at his grandson's house. So he felt very comfortable. Then the next traveler said, "Oh, it's been ages since I had last visited my son's house. My son, now I visit your house, so please welcome me." Then the youngest traveler said, "Oh, father, please allow me to spend the night at your house. I always had a good dream and good sleep at your place." So the three of them, after they saying that, lay down and soon fell asleep. But in the middle of the night, somewhere from the mountain, a hungry tiger roamed around for hunting. Then it smelled the humans and heard the snoring sound from the old shrine. Oh, what a lucky day for a hungry tiger like me. Then the tiger approached to the shrine and saw the three travelers sleeping. But the tiger had to get a permission before he eat the humans. So the tiger standing in front of the shrine and made a request. "I must feast on those sleeping inside. Please grant me permission." The god of the shrine shook his head. "No, not tonight." The tiger persisted. "Why not? I must eat the humans to survive. Oh, please let me feast at least one human." But the god was very firm and said, "I don't want to hear it. We have the grandfather, the father, and the son here. Who do you think you are going to feast on? Leave before you get into trouble." So the god chased the tiger away. And the god had overheard the three travelers' words, and now he just gave back to the tiger. But the three travelers slept peacefully. They didn't know what happened, during the night. Never thought of tiger. And the next morning, they arose early and greeted the god of the village shrine and set out their journey once again. Thank you.
Oh, it's great to hear your voice again, Ansuk, and to hear your story. And Ansuk, I'm keeping a record of the stories that are being shared today. What was the title of that story?
Three travelers and a shrine to the village god.
Brilliant. The three travelers and the shrine to the village god. Wonderful. A traditional Korean tale.
I don't know. Maybe in Korea and in Japan, we share the same story.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. And Ansuk, we're just about to go over to Mexico and to hear a translation into Spanish of Fatima's poem. And Fatima was a 9-year-old girl who recently lost her life in Gaza. And she wrote a poem a year ago, which has been widely published by the Hands Up Project. I'm just going to enter it into the chat now, because we've already heard the poem in English, in Afrikaans, in Mandarin Chinese, and in Italian. And if you're able to translate it, Ansuk, into Korean, or if anybody else would like to translate it into another language that you speak, it's very short, very simple, very beautiful. So here it is in the chat. Can you see? I've just added it in the chat. So If you're ready to recite it later, just let us know. Simona.
Thank you very much, Hansuk. And so, yes, we'll fly to Mexico now to listen to Rebecca tell the poem translated in Spanish. And then we'll fly to John for a story. Rebecca, please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning in Mexico. The poem goes like this. Los ojos son para observar y mirar el sol. La lengua para saludar y hablar de diversión. Las piernas son para caminar lentamente y para correr. Las manos son para dar la mano a nuestros amigos, no para armas sostener.
Thank you, Rebecca. Gracias. And now we're flying to John Sandel. John, where are you in the world?
I am in the United States, in the state of North Carolina, in the southeastern part of the United States, the city of Winston-Salem.
Would you like to tell us a story today, John?
Yes. And I'll mention that David invited me. I've just taken David's 2 wonderful classes, Crest and Beyond the Crest. And I told this story in the second class. I got it from one of many books by Margaret Reed MacDonald, who puts together some wonderful books of very simple stories. And this one is called Kindness Tales. It goes like this. A long time ago in China, there were 2 villages, and they were situated on either side of a river. In both of these villages, most of the people were farmers, and they had only one crop, and that was melons. But in the first village, in the village of Wei, the melons were delicious. They were tasty and sweet. And so they sold very easily in the market, and they brought a good price. So the people in the village of Wei were prosperous. They lived a comfortable life. But the melons in the village of Chu were dry and tasteless. And when the farmers took them to market, very few people would buy them. And when they did, they paid very little money for them. As a result, the people in Chu were poor. They lived a very harsh life. And over the years, they became more and more jealous, and their jealousy turned to a bitterness. One night, the farmers of Chu were drinking and talking, and as often happened, their talk turned to the village of Wei, and their bitterness turned to anger. One of the farmers said, How is it that the soil in Wei is so rich that it yields these sweet, tasty melons? And our soil is dry and barren and gives us nothing but dry and tasteless melons. And so the people in the village of Wei are prosperous and comfortable, while we live mired in poverty. It's not fair. It's not fair. I wish that the people of Wei, that they could feel the sting of poverty. I would like for them to feel the sting of poverty. I would like to take an axe and hack to pieces every one of their beautiful, tasty melons. That would level the playing field. I'll help you, said another farmer. I'll help you too, said a third. And within a few minutes, all of the farmers of Chu had made a deadly plan to destroy all of the melons in Wei. An hour or 2 later, when everyone else was asleep in the 2 villages, they took their axes and they silently crossed the river bridge and walked silently up the streets of Wei and into their fields. And they took their axes and they hacked and they hacked and they hacked and they hacked until they had destroyed every melon in the village. When the farmers of Wei woke up and went out into the fields, imagine their horror to see all of those beautiful melons hacked to pieces. How do you think they felt? Tell me, what do you think they felt to see that? What was going on inside them?
They were
Despair.
upset.
Upset, despair. Yes. Yeah, and that upset and that despair soon turned to anger. They looked across the river. They knew who had done this. They knew, and they met in the village, and within minutes they had made their own plan to avenge the destruction from the farmers of Chu by, in their turn, destroying all of the melons in Chu. Now, in the village of Wei, the headman, the leader of the village, was an old man named Song. Song had lived a long life, and in that long life, he had learned a lot of wisdom. And when he heard the plan, he said, wait a minute, let's think about this. I know you are angry. I feel your anger. You have every reason to be angry. It is a terrible thing that the farmers of Chu have done. But if you return their destruction, there will only be more anger. The anger will only increase. For years, we have lived in peace with the village of Chu, if not always harmony, at least in peace. Who knows what will happen if you go and destroy all the melons of these already embittered and angry people? Let me give you another suggestion. Now, before I tell you what that suggestion was, let me ask you, what do you think would be a good suggestion? What would make the situation better instead of worse? Baba C?
They would share their seeds and help the other village grow melons like they grow.
Any other ideas? Well, that's okay, because Baba C has put his finger right on the idea, and the headman said that very thing. He said, instead of going at night with your axes, go in the morning with your watering cans. Everybody drew back in shock, and he said, think about it. Their melons are dry and tasteless because they don't know how to raise them properly. If you teach them how to raise their melons properly, then they too will have a good harvest. They too will have sweet and tasty melons that they can sell and that they can obtain the money to live a comfortable life. And so most, though not all, of the farmers agreed that this was a better path. And in the morning, they took their watering cans down to the river, and they filled them, and they walked up the village, up the road, across the bridge into the village of Wei. And when the farmers of Chu saw them, they at first were alarmed, knowing what they had done. But then they saw them carrying watering cans, and they thought, what are they going to do? In a safe distance, they followed them into the fields. And when they saw them lift the watering cans to pour the water, they suddenly thought, are they going to poison our plants? But the farmers from Wei explained to them. They said, we would like to help you grow better melons. You see, you're not doing it in a correct way that will yield sweet and tasty melons. We would like to teach you. And the people of Chu agreed. And indeed, they learned to farm those melons properly, and they had a bountiful harvest of delicious melons, and they were only too glad to share those melons with their friends in the village of Wei. And so the problem was solved, and not only peace, but harmony grew between these two villages. And that is the end of my story.
Thank you, John. Can you remind us, John, or remind me, what's the title of that story in Margaret Reed MacDonald?
Oh boy. Watering the neighbor's melons, I believe.
Brilliant.
Watering the neighbor's melons. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
John, that was beautiful story and fantastic telling. Thank you very much for coming and sharing that story with us.
Sure. Very glad.
A real story of peace. Thank you. All right. So just to let you know what's going on in the background, and please, if you came into the room and you haven't let us know yet, and if you'd like to tell a story, please just write a message. Let us know if you'd like to share a story, or you can also share a poem, a song, or just say a few words. Everything is more than welcome. Okay, sorry, I was reading the messages seeing if there was something coming up, I should say. We've got, as for now, I know about Debjani and Baba C who'd like to tell a story. And we also have Ansuk version of Fatima's poem in Korean. So David, if you agree, I'd go to Ansuk first to listen to the poem. Then Debjani is in a hurry, so I'll fly to India. And then Baba C, would you like to go after Debjani? Otherwise, I can tell a story. And all right, you go after Debjani. Perfect. Thank you. Ansuk, please.
I really pray for the ceasefire happen as soon as possible in Gaza, and I will read in Korean. 눈은 태양을 쳐다보려고 있고요. 혀는 인사하고 우스개를 말하려고 있어요. 손은 친구와 악수하기 위해서 있어요. 총을 쏘기 위해서가 아니에요.
Thank you, Ansuk.
So we're now flying to India, to Debjani. Debjani, you're in India, right? I am not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm India, very much in India. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Good
Debjani.
evening. Hi, David. Hello. Good to see you all. Hello. So it's 8 o'clock in India, 8 p.m. So good evening to all of you. This is a story, a legend from eastern part, somewhat eastern part of India. All right. So here is the story for you. Once upon a time, in a state called Orissa, there was a kingdom called Baki, a small kingdom where lived a king and a queen. And the king was just as the king we expect to be: powerful, brave, valiant warrior. The queen was not as we expect or we think a queen could be. She wasn't satisfied within the four walls of a luxurious palace. Her heart was always out there with her people. She would love to sing and dance with the children and the women of her kingdom. Rangoboti, 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 Rangila Antare. She, not only that, she was also skilled in swords fighting and horse riding. Yes, but that wasn't appreciated much because those days in India, women were not supposed to know all this. But the queen didn't bother. Well, one morning rather, the king was seated on his throne in the court, surrounded by his courtiers and ministers. Suddenly, a messenger rushed in and he was panicking. Your Majesty, danger, danger, Your Majesty. What happened? Your Majesty, our neighboring kingdom, Kurda, the king of Kurda has attacked our kingdom. And he has almost captured all the bordering areas. We need to do something, Your Majesty, something immediately. The king, as I said, was a brave, powerful king. So he had small group of army soldiers. His resources was very limited, yet he had a brave heart. So he rushed immediately along with his small army. Rushed. And that day, Baki witnessed a fierce battle. However, the king, for a moment, fell weak before the king of Burda, and he was killed. Seeing the king lying in a pool of blood, the soldiers, few of them who were still alive, were terrified. They could not endure that scene, and they rushed back. Here the queen was waiting anxiously for the message. What is happening in the battlefield? That's when the chief minister entered. Dear queen, yes, what happened? What happened? What has happened to the king, to the battlefield? What has happened to our king? Dear queen, I'm so sorry to say, I feel so sad to say that the king, our lordship, is no more. And we need to surrender. The queen's heart just shattered, yet she clasped her fist. For a moment, tears rolled down her eyes. But the very next moment, her eyes glistened and beamed with determination. She turned to the minister and said, "Surrender? Why surrender? We will fight back." The minister was astonished. Fight back? How? I mean, the king is no more. The soldiers half are dead and half have returned. How will we fight? Who will lead us? I will lead. You I mean, you are a woman. So what? I'm a woman. Because I'm a woman, I will lead. Because I'm a woman, I have a heart of a mother. And I want to protect my people. And that's why I will lead. If you don't have the courage enough, go and hide yourself at your home. Whoever wants to come with me, let them come. The words of the queen inspired and sparked and ignited the fire within the people there. And once again, many of them that day rushed to the battlefield. And who led them? The queen. Here, in the meanwhile, the king of Kurda, he was busy merrymaking, eating, drinking, and there was dance and music. Just then, the messenger on their side came with the news. Your Majesty, Baki is returning with a huge army. Huh? How? Who is leading them? I have just now killed their king. Have you lost your mind? Your Majesty, the queen is leading them. What? The queen? A woman, that too, who has lost her husband just a couple of hours ago? Ha! She must have gone mad. She must be coming to just surrender in front of me so that I can just spare their lives. But that wasn't so. Once again, the battlefield witnessed a fierce battle, and this time really fierce it was. The queen's spirit inspired their army so much that they fought with wholeheartedly. And the army chief of that army of the other side, Kurda, passed away. And then their king was bound with chains and dragged before the queen. The king of Kurda was caught mouthing curses. Death 1,000 times better than just dying in the hand of a woman. A voice boomed. Set him free. Remove the chains. He looked up. What? What are you saying? So that you can kill me when I'm free? No. So that you can return. And that was the voice of the queen. The king was now astonished. What? Have you lost it? Was it a joke? Then why did you defeat me? I defeated you because I wanted to protect the freedom of my kingdom, of my people, and the honor of my kingdom, not to take revenge. I am a woman who has just now lost her husband, and I know what grief it is. Violence is not the ultimate solution. So I don't want to inflict the same grief on your family. Return. And I promise no one will harm you. The king, with tears in his eyes, folded his hands and said, Oh queen, today you have defeated me twice. Once in the battlefield and once here now with your magnanimity. And I do promise that Kurda from now on will always remain indebted to Baki. The king departed, and then a pillar was built up to celebrate that act of magnanimity of Queen. The pillar still stands, yes, at that place to commemorate the wonderful act of peace by the Queen of Baki. That was the legend, the Queen of Baki.
Thank you, Debjani. Thank you. Debjani, where is that pillar?
Yes, that pillar is in the state of Orissa, eastern part of India.
Right.
In between Baki and Khurda.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing us a story from Indian heritage. And Debjani, can I ask for what title would you give that story?
I would say that a wonderful act by a wonderful queen.
The wonderful act of a wonderful queen. Thank you very much. Debjani, I know you have to leave soon, but if you did have time to translate Fatima's poem into an Indian language which you speak, that would be amazing. We've been hearing this very short poem translated into different languages. I'm just putting it in the chat in English. If you have time to stick around for a few minutes and give us the poem, if you would like to, in a language that you speak other than English, that would be amazing. Oh,
Eyes up.
Can you see in the chat? Like, okay, I'll give you a little time to translate it, and then maybe you can come back in after the next storyteller.
Okay. Okay.
Who's next, Simona?
So we've had a little change of plan. So before Baba C, we'll have Lynn from the USA. So we're flying to the USA and we're staying there for 2 stories with Lynn and Baba C. Because Lynn has to go soon, so we had a little change of plan. Thank you, Baba C.
It's not just Lynn. I can see more than one character here. Lynn, can you turn on your mic?
Hi, my name is Lynn Love. I just want to say I'm a friend of Nyana's, and this is no guard. No guard is dragon backwards, and it means not to be afraid of dragons. And I'm writing about him. It says, don't postpone joy. Okay, so this is Mapa, like mother, father, and that's his good parents, and he loves them. And then this is evil power. And that's his name, evil power. So here we go. First, I'm going to sing my theme song. It is better to light just one little candle than to stumble in the dark. Better far that we light just one little candle, all we need's a tiny spark. When we all say a prayer that this world will be free, a wonderful dawn of a new day we'll see. And when everyone lights just one little candle, what a bright world this will be. Now a poem that my grandfather taught me. And the last word I'm not comfortable with. So maybe, I won't have time to listen, but you could think about a better world. I met a little boy today. He looked so sad because someone just informed him that there was no Santa Claus. His little shoulder seemed to sag I could detect a tear. His world was topsy-turvy when I spoke. He did not hear. I knew his little heart was breaking and his tears about to start. That's why I asked the governor to write onto the laws, this is the word that I'd like to change. Jail the man who tells a child there is no Santa Claus. And I do not at this moment know a better word, and maybe all of you in your hearts can think of a way to change that. And now, I was taught a song, a chant, by a man named Gabu, which is an Australian best friend. That's what his name means, a dream teacher. And I'll do the chant 3 times. And if you would like to join, you can join. Love, 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 love on the earth. Love, love, love throughout the universe. Love, 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 love on the earth. Love, love, love throughout the universe. Love, 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 love on the earth. Love, love, love throughout the universe. Thank you. Shalom. Peace go with you. So many blessings. Bye.
Thank you, Lynn. Shalom, salam, peace, love throughout the universe.
Yeah.
Thank you for those words, Lynn. Thank you. So this is a fundraiser as well as a storytelling for peace event. So we're storytelling for peace, and we're also inviting people who are here with us in the room, but also people watching on Facebook, on YouTube, people who are watching the recording, to, if you're able to, just make a small donation to Medical Aid for Palestinians. It's a charity that's much needed and a very well-established British registered charity that does a lot of good work supporting Palestinian health provision and has been established for many years. Okay, so Simona, what's next?
I think if the Jani wants to share the poem, if it's ready, and then we'll go to Babasi with his story.
Slight interruption. I have a little situation, so I have to step away from the mic for a moment, but I'll be back as soon as possible. Okay?
Well, tell you what,
Don't worry,
before Babasi's story, maybe I could share Jana's story after Debjani.
All right. David, the actual name of the story that I shared is Rani's Revenge.
How do I spell Arani?
Rani means queen.
Oh, yeah,
Rani
Rani's Revenge,
queen.
yes.
A queen. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
That's it. Yeah. Yes. The poem. Yeah. Can I have the song or the poem, please?
I'll put it in the chat again.
Okay, okay.
And Debjani, which language are you going to give us the poem in?
I'm going to give it in Bengali, my mother tongue.
Bengali, wonderful.
Eyes of a looking and seeing sun, tongues of a greeting and saying come. চোখ আছে দেখো, চোখ শুধু দেখার সূর্যকে, জীব আছে দেখো, জীব শুধু আছে আলিঙ্গন করার, অন্যকে ভালোবাসা, আনন্দের জন্য। পা আছে দেখো হাঁটার, আস্তে ধীরে, কখনো বা দৌড়ে। হাত আছে দেখো, হাত আছে দেখো, হাতের মধ্যে ওপর হাত রাখা, হাত দিয়ে কাউকে গুলি করার না, হাত শুধু হাতের উপর রাখা, হাত দিয়ে কাউকে গুলি করার না। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you, Debjani. Well, many of the children that I've met through the Hands Up project and through the World Storytelling Cafe have been in Gaza. But another teacher that did a course with me is Lamia Tamimi, and we were communicating earlier today. Hi, Tamia, if you're watching the recording. And Lamia is in Hebron in the West Bank. And Lamia has worked as a storyteller and teacher for years, and has been collaborating often with a teacher that many of us know called Sue Piper. And Sue was doing storytelling with Lamia's students very recently, over the last weeks, months. And one of Lamia's students is Jana, and she learned one of Sue's stories. And it happens to be a story that I know and I love telling. In fact, I was telling it last night at another Medical Aid for Palestinians fundraiser that I retold stories I'd learned from children from Palestine to the Credit and Arts Centre. And we did well with that fundraiser. So I'd like to share this story of the tree, but rather than me tell the story, let Jana tell you the story. This was recorded 2 weeks ago.
My name's Jana, the story about the tree. Once upon a time there was a tree in a forest. A little boy loves to play with the tree. Every day he would go to the tree and climbed its branches or sit under its leaves. The boy said, Tree, I want to play. I can climb your branches. I can stay all day. The tree said, Yes, I want to play. I love it when you come and stay. The boy said, Tree, I don't want to play. I want to play with toys today. The tree said, Then take my apples and steal them too. You will have some money very soon. The boy came with his family. The boy said, Tree, I am all grown up. I am building a house and I need some wood. Take my branches to build your home. I love to help, thought I felt alone. After a while the boy came again. The boy said, Tree, I want to sail away. Can I take your trunk? What do you say? The tree said, Take my trunk to build a boat. My wood is strong to keep you afloat. After a while the old man came. And the man said, Tree, now I am old. Can I stay here and rest my bones? And the tree said, Of course you can. Sit by my roots and remember the days you used to pick all the fruits. Hi, my name is Jana. The story about the tree. Once upon a time, there was
So there's Yana telling the story of the tree. The selfish boy and the tree, but the tree is always giving. The tree forgives always. And there's so much metaphor in that lovely, simple story, isn't there? Thank you, Yana. And Yana, today you're representing all Palestinian children. Baba C, are you ready to tell us your story? Fantastic. Let's head over to well, I know you're in the area of Washington, D.C.
I'm in Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C.
Yes. And I want to give a shout out to my fellow Americans, or some people say fellow United Staters, because we're all over the country. We're in different time zones. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to them. And I have a little bit of a dilemma. This story has been haunting me for a while in a good way. But I'm not sure how I learned this story. I don't know if I read it. I don't know if I heard another storyteller tell it. I don't know if I came across it on worldstorytellingcafe.com. So if anybody recognizes or knows a source for this story, I put my my email in the chat a little bit earlier. And if they would let me know the source or where they've heard the story before, I would appreciate it. And this story, I think, is very apropos for this troubling times, demanding times that we're in. And I'm trying. I thought the story might have been in a Nazi story, but it's not really. But it will be by the time I'm finished with it. But not today. So this story is called The Lazy Man, and it may be a little interactive. So if I do like this, I need people to unmute and go lazy man. Need to go lazy man.
Lazy man.
Right. Okay. So a long time ago, so long ago, if you take the ages of everybody listening, of everybody watching, add it all up and multiply it by 10, it is older than that. The story is older than Baba C. Yes, there are people older than me. But this story is about the lazy man. You see, a long time ago, before there was television, before there was radio, before there was cable, before there were Walk the Man or Cat Cassettes, before there was any of that stuff, there was a lazy man, and he would go walking, which is which to me doesn't make sense, because if he was lazy, why did he go walking? But he was a very lazy man. What was he? He was a
lazy man.
Lazy man.
Lazy man. So one day the lazy man.
Sorry.
That's all right. Sometimes we're lazy coming in. That's okay. So the lazy man, he was walking and 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 walking, which is strange because he was a
lazy man.
Yes. And he came upon a clearing, and in the clearing there were all kinds of animals. There was a giraffe, there was a monkey, there was a crocodile. Don't ask me why the crocodile was there. I don't know. There were all kinds. There was a zebra. There were all kinds of animals, and there was a crippled fox. Its hind legs were he could not walk or move its hind legs, and the only way he could move was by crawling and pulling himself forward with his forepaws, not his forepaws, his forepaws, the ones in front. And he was pulling himself forward, and the other animals paid him no mind. And he was pulling himself, and the lazy man stood at the edge of the clearing watching all of this. When all of a sudden there appeared a mighty lion, and the mighty lion had a huge hunk of meat hanging from his mouth. When the other animals saw the lion, they scattered, including the crocodile. I don't know why he was there anyhow. But anyhow, they all ran. And the lazy man, even though he was lazy, he climbed up a tree because he knew that lions, for the most part, can't climb trees. And he just knew the poor fox was done. And the lion walked toward the fox. The lion walked toward the fox. And the fox, who can only move on his forepaws, not four paws, his forepaws, the ones in front. And he sat and he watched because he just knew. He just knew that this, he knew it was done for. And the lion walked right in front of the crippled fox, opened his mouth, and dropped the big hunk of meat in front of the fox, turned around and left. And the fox dined well. The lazy man said, "Oh, the Creator, God, is good. God sent the lion to feed the crippled fox. If the Creator, if God is good, send the lion to feed the fox, surely the Creator, surely God will send someone to feed me. I will go to another clearing and I will sit and wait for someone to come and feed me." And this is what the lazy man did. The lazy man went walking, which again confuses me because he was a
Lazy
man.
But he went walking and he sat down in front of a tree and another clearing and he waited and he waited and he waited and he waited. What did he do? He
waited.
Waited.
And he
and waited.
And he
waited.
One more time, and he
waited.
Waited.
It was a
all
lazy
morning long, and no one came to feed him. And he waited and he waited and he waited all afternoon long, and no one came to feed him. And he waited and he waited and he waited all evening long, and no one came to feed him. And he waited and he
waited.
and he
waited.
and he waited.
Waited.
He was a lazy
Clearly
man.
into the night, and no one came to feed him. He was very upset, but he was too lazy to get up and go home. So he slept. And the next morning, the
lion?
No, the lazy man.
Lazy man.
The lazy man.
He woke up and he waited and he waited and he
waited
all morning long, but no one came to feed him. So he waited and he waited and he
waited
all afternoon, but no one came to feed him. So he waited and he waited and he
waited
all evening long, but no one came to feed him. So he waited and he waited and he
waited
well into the night, but no one came to feed him. But he was too lazy to get up, and his stomach was growling, so he fell asleep. The next morning, his stomach was growling and saying things I will not repeat. And he got up and he was very angry. He was angry and he was lazy. Not a good combination. And he got up and he started mumbling to himself. And he started walking and he was angry and he was walking and he was angry and he was walking and he was angry. And the lazy man began to walk toward his home. And as he began to walk, he passed by an elder. But it wasn't me. He passed by an elder. He passed by an old man, and the old man could see that this lazy man was upset. He said, "Young sir, you seem to be upset. What is your problem?" He said, 2 days ago, I saw a lion walk into a clearing and drop a big hunk of meat in front of a crippled fox to feed him. And I said, surely the Creator God is good. He sent a lion to feed the crippled fox. And if the Creator God was good and sent a lion to feed a crippled fox, surely the Creator, surely God would send someone to feed me. But no one, in 2 days, no one has come to feed me. And the old man said, walk with me, walk with me, walk with me. And they walked till they got to the old man's house. And the old man prepared a meal. And as they sat and they ate and they drank, juice. Actually, palm wine, adult beverage, but children might be listening. And as they sat and they drank, he said, "My son, you observed the lesson, but you took the wrong lesson with you. Yes, the Creator, God is good. And yes, the Creator sent the lion to feed the crippled fox, but you did not receive the correct message. You did not understand. You see, sometimes the Creator sends people to help other people, but sometimes you are called upon to be the one that helps. I'm going to repeat that. Sometimes the Creator sends people to help other people, but sometimes you are the person who is supposed to help others. And you see, in these troubled times today, with all that's going on, sometimes people come to our aid, but sometimes it is our turn, our responsibility to come to the aid of others. Asante, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Babasi.
And the name of that story is The Lazy Man.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Listen, everybody, I'm just posting into the chat the charity and the links. Medical Aid for Palestinians, wonderful charity. And whether you're watching the recording, you can make a donation if you want to. And we're remembering and thinking about people all over the world and where there's a great need at the moment. So a good charity, Medical Aid for Palestinians. And you can use this QR code right beside me, or there's a link in the chat if you're in the room. Oh, thank you so much. I know that Rebecca is ready to tell a story. Is it Rebecca next, Simona?
Yes, Rebecca's next.
Rebecca
and
is
please,
in Mexico.
And Keith,
yes.
Sarah, Maxtilde, if you've got a story that you'd like to tell, please let us know. All right, just send a message in the chat. And Rebecca, please tell us a
Hello
story.
again. Okay, I would like to share with you a story I wrote some time ago, and it's called Peace in the Great Mayan Reef. And it is basically talking about me some years ago. And one of my teachers was asked all of us to write or to create something about peace. And many of my classmates did lots of different things. Some of them drew a white flag, okay? Others created with some clay some doves that were white, and they figured they were flying. And others drew or brought, there was like a bracelet, something like that, had with a man, like kind of a man looking upside down, that seems to be a symbol of peace too. And one of my classmates even dared to bring a photograph of an aunt called Paz, which in Spanish is peace. But I really didn't know what to do. I went to the library, looked for the meaning of peace, but that was not enough. I wanted to know how peace looks. How can you feel peace? And I couldn't find really the best way to describe it. I talked to my grandfather, and my grandpa, who was a very wise man, told me, don't worry about it. I'll help you out. And he invited me to go with him to the Mayan Reef. And a reef, I said, how come a reef could be talking about peace? That sounds really dangerous. My grandfather just smiled and said, don't worry about it. Just look, observe everything that surrounds you, and wait. Later, we can talk about it. So, one morning, it was autumn, as I remember, we sailed away. The captain of the boat was from Mayan, came from Mayan roots, and he explained everything that we could see. We were in the Caribbean Sea, in the Cancun, which is a beach very close to, well, in Quintana Roo in Mexico. Suddenly, after sailing for a little while, the captain stopped right in the middle of nothing. You could only see water around us. And of course, he gave us everything that we could use to swim in the sea. What do you think he gave us? Have you ever gone scuba diving? No?
Fins?
Well, fins. Okay, swimming fins. What else?
Did you have an oxygen tank?
No, there were no oxygen tanks because we were not diving so deep. Mhm. So we
Mask?
had masks, fins, and he
Snorkel?
suggested a snorkel, right? And he suggested that we just stay close to the grip. We shouldn't go away, too far away. And suddenly I just heard 1, 2, 3, and off we went. Everybody jumped into the water. I was really scared. I started trembling. My grandfather, who used to be a really great swimmer, held my hand. And I felt safe. We were swimming around. And the first thing we could see, there were some like they were like little plants floating in the sea, purple, like just swimming, like dancing around. It was beautiful. We could see big fish and huge fish. We could see small fish and really tiny ones. And everything was okay. It didn't feel dangerous at all. We continued swimming all over the reef. The colors of the fish were fantastic. You could see blue fish, purple fish. Can you think of other colors of fish? Have you ever seen fish of different colors?
Bright orange.
Bright orange, yes, another one.
Blackfish.
Blackfish, of course there were black too. Can you think
Rainbow
of another?
fish.
I'm sorry?
Rainbow, multicolored.
Rainbow, yes, rainbow fish. There was an eel hiding, looking at us vigilantly. And we could spot a ray resting on the sand. And everything felt tranquil. Out of the blue, a magnificent sea snail appeared from the bottom of the sea. Oh, the captain took, just look at it, pointed it, and like saying, look at that. And we turned around. Wow, it was great. There was also a shell, a seashell on the bottom of the sea. The captain took it and asked us to come back, to come closer. We touched it. It was soft, pinkish, nice. And we were happy. Suddenly, Grandpa pushed at me and said, look, pointing to the right. And the great barracuda was swimming very close to us. Everybody was moving slowly. Everybody was minding their own business. Mm-hmm. And everybody was happy. The tide under the sea moved the algae in the reef, simulating beauty contestants that they go right, left, right, left. And I smiled. Suddenly, I realized that I was floating and the tide was moving me slowly. We were surrounded by such beauty, harmony, and tranquility. Then and there, I understood what my grandpa wanted to show me. You know, in the Mayan Reef, you can find lots of different species living together. They all coexist respectfully, and they all enjoy everything that surrounds them. That is precisely how peace is felt and lived in the great Mayan Reef. Stories come, stories go, and this story has come to a stop.
Rebecca, that was amazing. Thank you for. I remember hearing you tell that story before, but it made such an impact on me today. What would you call this story? What would be a title for your story?
The title of this story is Peace in the Great Mayan Reef.
Thank you very much. Oh, it's lovely to have a personal story as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rebecca being here gives us an opportunity for a quick promotion of a project which has been going on for the last 24 days. It's Simona's project. Simona here, Simona Stambazzi, created a wonderful project called Words of Kindness Advent Calendar. And for the last 24 days, you've probably seen on Facebook and YouTube 24 stories. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the contributors, but also Rebecca shared a wonderful story. And the last story was released today, Mindy Mio in Singapore. So thank you, Simona, for that wonderful project. And it's all there to listen to. Words of kindness stories are so important. It's really what we're doing today. This is a good way to mark the end of that project, isn't it, Simona?
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm really excited that this is taking place on the last day of the project. So yes, thank you, David, for reminding everyone about the project.
I'll make another reminder as well, and that's something else that together with Sarah Asfar, who many of you know, she's an Iranian storyteller and a friend who lives in London. And Sarah and I were talking recently, and you may be aware of a poet called Dr. Refat Alaria, who was killed a couple of weeks ago in Gaza, a very prominent and important poet. And his poem, If I Must Die, which he wrote on the 1st of November, in full expectation that he wouldn't survive the conflict, wrote this amazing poem. So I made a recording in English, and Zahra translated it into Farsi, Persian language, Farsi. And she put up her recording, I put up mine. Many other people are putting up translations of the poem written in different languages, but not that many being spoken. And since then, we've invited a few people, and the poem has been read in Greek by Despina Vardas. It's been read by Seth Townsend in Yiddish, which is absolutely fantastic. So if anybody out there would like to make your own recording of the poem, If I Must Die by Refat Alaria, and add it and share it, and that would be amazing. But right now, what's happening right now, Simona?
I think we're flying to the UK, to Lincolnshire, because Keith is going to tell us a story.
Wonderful.
Right, hello everybody. It's good to see Babasi and David and Simona after all this time. It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Now, before our calendar began, in Nazareth there was a young girl. And one day, suddenly, there was an angel, Gabriel, appeared before her, bright shining light, all shimmering. And he said, now, don't be afraid, Mary, because that was her name. But who wouldn't be afraid when suddenly there's this angel messenger from God Most High appeared before you? Don't be afraid, because you are special. You've been chosen for a very special task. You are going to have a baby, and you'll call him Jesus. And he will make such a difference to mankind, because he will come to save and rescue all men and women and children and bring peace. And Mary said, well, I'm engaged to Joseph, who's a carpenter. And indeed, she was looking forward to getting married, but she wasn't married yet. But Gabriel said, well, you're going to have a baby, and it'll be the Spirit of God that will come and rest over you. But she said, well, I'm a virgin and I'm not married yet. What will Joseph say? And what will my dad and mum say? But Gabriel said, don't worry. Everything will be all right. And he disappeared. Well, Mary, she said, well, if that's what God wants, I've got this special task, then I'll have to carry it out. I will carry it out. And she went to see Joseph, and she told Joseph about the message he'd got from an angel messenger from God. But he didn't believe her. And she went away crying. Oh, what was she to do? Now, Joseph thought to himself, well, because in those days, engagement was almost equivalent to marriage. It was very important. And so he said, well, perhaps I'll have to send her away to maybe a village where she's not known, where she could have the baby in secrecy. But that night he went to bed and he was tossing and turning, and he had a vision. Again, it was the angel messenger Gabriel that came to Joseph and said, don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife. Indeed, she will have a baby, and his name will Joseph. His name will be Jesus. And Joseph, don't you remember what the prophet Isaiah said? That a virgin will give birth to a baby who will rescue people from their sins and bring peace to the world. And Joseph woke up and said, oh, yeah. And he got dressed and he rushed over to Mary's house, and she opened the door and he threw his arms around her. And he said, I also have had a messenger. The angel Gabriel came to me as well and told me about the special job that you have got, the special task that you've got in bearing a baby who is going to be the Son of the Most High. And so a few weeks later, they were married. There was this great celebration in the village. There was singing and dancing and storytelling. And as time went on, that Mary was living with Joseph, as husband and wife. And Mary was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She was counting the weeks up until the birth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, counting the months up to birth. And Joseph came in from his workshop as a carpenter and he said, you're not the only one that's counting, because the emperor is counting everyone in the nation. And I have to go to my hometown where I'll have to be registered and counted. But he said, well, your hometown is the city of David. It's Bethlehem. How can we, because I'll have to go with you, how can we make that journey? Joseph said, I'm sure the Lord will look after us and we'll be able to make the journey. And so they set off. Now, normally, the man would ride the donkey and the woman would lead the donkey, but because Mary was soon to give birth, she was heavy with child, and so she rode on a donkey, and Joseph, he led the donkey all the way down the Jordan Valley and through the hills, stopping in different places, about 70 miles or so, all the way through until they got to Bethlehem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, knocking on doors to try and get accommodation. But there was no answer, or people said, well, there's just no room for you to stay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And eventually they came to an inn and knocked on the door, and the innkeeper said, well, we've no room in the inn. But said Joseph, my wife, she's about to give birth. Have you got somewhere, a room or somewhere where we can stay? And the innkeeper said, well, I do have a stable. It's sort of warm and dry. You can maybe stay there. And so he led Joseph and Mary round to the back of the inn, and there was the stable. And so, there in the stable, that late night, there was a sound of a donkey. Ee-aw, ee-aw. And there was a sound of a cow. Moo, moo, moo. And there was a sound of a sheep. Meh, meh, meh. There was a sound of a dove up in the rafters. Coo, coo, coo. And then there was the sound of a baby crying. And the baby was born in Bethlehem in a stable. Now, out in the fields that night, there were some shepherds. And suddenly there's a bright light in the sky, and all these angels were singing, and there was, again, Gabriel appeared and said, don't be afraid. But if you got, again, if you've got a bright light in the sky with all these heavenly beings, you would be afraid. He said, don't be afraid, because tonight in Bethlehem is born a baby who will rescue the world, rescue people from sin and death and hell. And then there's a great host, a great number of angels singing praises to God and peace to all mankind. And with that, the shepherds, they were just ordinary men, rather than kings and queens that were announced to the birth of a great king to come, the saviour, a rescuer. It was just ordinary men. They rushed off. They're leaving one or two younger ones to look after the sheep, and they rushed into Bethlehem. And there they found the baby in a stable. And they gave homage to the baby. As Mary and Joseph stood beside the feeding trough, with a baby lying quietly in it. And they were ecstatic, and they left there, and they were singing praises to God and telling everybody about the wonderful thing that's happened. That the rescuer, the one that would bring peace, the Prince of Peace had been born, would bring peace to the world.
Gee, thank you so much for telling this story in this way, because it's a story we often hear told to us in a much more formal way. But having it told as a story like that, it's very, it makes it a new story, a fresh story, and it's new every year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Keith. And if nobody else wants to tell a story, David and I have thought about something that we could do. We have a poem that we'd like to share, and Gerard has just shared his response to that poem in the chat, so he's going to read it out, and then I'll have a peace story for you, and maybe we'll say goodbye later on. So I'll read the poem in English and Italian. This is the poem that David was speaking about earlier on, the poem he shared and that other people sent in different languages. If I must die, you must leave to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza will look in heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself. sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. Se devo morire, tu devi vivere, per raccontare la mia storia, per rivendere le mie cose, per comprare un pezzo di stoffa e dello spago, bianco con la coda lunga, così che un bambino da qualche parte a casa, guardando il cielo negli occhi, aspettando suo padre che se ne andò in fiamme, senza dire addio a nessuno, nemmeno alla sua carne, nemmeno a se stesso, veda l'aquilone, il mio aquilone che tu hai fatto volare in alto, sopra, e pensi per un momento che ci sia un angelo lì, riportando l'amore. Se devo morire, lascia che porti speranza, lascia che sia una storia. Gerard, would you like to read your response to this poem?
I would like to say one or two things before I read my response. I'm going to try.
Please
If
do.
I get stuck and somebody else, just keep going. He was a really remarkable person. There are things in the poem that, and I hope people that actually watch this, that don't know, go and look at what he did. He had a charity called We Are Not Numbers. He helped young writers in Gaza with a publication called Voices from Gaza. He was a remarkable person. Simona, sorry, if you don't mind, if there is time right before the end, I have students from my school made a video that is shared online, but I would like to share it if there is time for it. But
Absolutely,
let
yes.
me at least.
Yes, sorry, I forgot about that, Gerard. Thank you for reminding me.
Let me at least attempt the poem, and if I get choked up, then somebody else can go on. So it's called "The Kite at Night" because of what he wrote. As you sorry. As you predicted, the end has come, but words cannot succumb to a bomb. Your things I fear we cannot sell, but your story is one we'll continue to tell. A kite we'll make with a tail white and light like stars visible at night. The wind will make music as it flies past the string. We are not numbers is what it will sing. We'll teach each other to make 1,000 kites and thereby light 1,000 nights. And they'll teach others and then some more, so the kites can fly beyond the Gaza shore, amplifying thousands of children's voices, giving them hope, giving them choices. So let the kite at night a symbol be of children's voices forever free. Sorry, maybe not my best reading of a poem, but thank you.
Thank you, Gerhard. It was perfect. I see that Lisa has joined us in the room. Hi, Lisa. Have you got a short story or poem that you would like to share with us? Because we're coming to the last 20 minutes of our event. I know that Simona's got a story, and I've got another poem to finish with today. But if there is time for a little story, if you would like, Lisa.
Hi, David. I appreciate you asking. I didn't come prepared with a story, but
That's
I'm
fine.
really happy to be here and listen in and take part in this. So thank you, everybody, for sharing what you have, what you can.
It's great that you're with us.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to make a request to people who are listening here on Zoom, or people who may be listening on Facebook, for example, whether it's now or later, is just to, well, I think particularly if you're listening now live, is just to go onto your Facebook and share the stream, because it just means that more people will get to experience this. I think it's a very special event that we've created together, with deep respect and regard for human life, and with a hope and a cry for peace. Simona, would you like to tell a story? We'd love it if you do.
I'll just put the candle away before I burn my hair while telling. There was war on earth. The peacemakers were desperate. What can we do? What can we do? They got together and they said, let's go to the wizard. Together, they went to the wizard and they said, people are fighting. People are dying. They don't want to stop. We don't know what to do. Please, wizard, use your magic. Help us. And the wizard thought, and he said, oh, I've got an idea. It's the perfect idea, really. With a flick of my wand, I will destroy all of the weapons on earth. So the people who want to fight won't have anything to fight with. They will stop fighting. Oh, yes, please do, said the peacemakers. Please do. And so, with a flick of his wand, the wizard destroyed all of the weapons on earth. For 3 days, there was peace. For 3 days, the people who wanted to fight looked around, but they couldn't find anything to fight with. But then, after 3 days, they started chopping down young trees, and they made them into spears, and they started fighting again. And so the peacemakers went to the wizard. Oh, wizard, please, for 3 days, there was peace. But now they chopped down young trees and they made them into spears and they started fighting again. Please do something, use your magic. Oh, said the wizard, that's very simple. With a flick of my wand, I will destroy all of the young trees on earth. Oh, yes, please do, said the peacemakers. And with a flick of his wand, the wizard destroyed all of the young trees on earth. For 3 days, there was peace. The people who wanted to fight looked around for young trees to cut down and make into spears, but they couldn't find any. But after 3 days, they started chopping down bigger trees and they made them into buttons and they started fighting again. The peacemakers went to the wizard. Oh, wizard, please help us. Oh, no problem, said the wizard. And with a flick of his wand, he destroyed all of the trees on earth. For 3 days, there was peace. Then they took metal and they made it into swords and knives. They started fighting again. With a flick of his wand, the wizard destroyed all of the metal on the planet. But the people who wanted to fight took stones and rocks and started throwing them and using slings to make them faster and worse. With a flick of his wand, the wizard destroyed all of the rocks and stones on the planet. And then the peacemakers looked around. Well, the people who want to fight keep finding ways to fight. What can we do soon? Soon there will be no grass, no fruit, no vegetables, and the people will start dying, even without fighting. What can we do? So the peacemakers got together and they went to the wizard and said, please, wizard, use your magic and help us. The wizard said, well, I don't know what to do. If I could, I would destroy all of humanity, so this would stop, but it's not in my powers. And then a child stepped forward and he said, I've got an idea. Why don't you make it so that each person feels the same thing that they're doing to the other person? So if they're hurting someone, they feel the same pain. And if they are doing something good to the other person, then they feel the same joy and happiness and contentment. Well, that's a very good idea, the peacemakers and the wizards said to the child. And so, with a flick of his wand, the wizard created compassion. And he made it so that every time somebody hurt somebody else, he would feel the same pain. And whenever they did something good to the other person, they would feel happy and joyous. And soon there was no war on the planet, no war on earth. And soon there was only peace. It's my wish for today and always.
Thank you for your wish, Simona. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask Nicholas, completely up to you, Nicholas, but you shared with me a poem that you created for children in Gaza. I don't know whether you wanted to make it public and read it out to all of us, or whether you wanted me just to share that with teachers in Gaza that I know.
Oh, thank you, thank you, David. I'd happily read it.
Would you recite it for us? I found it very moving and very beautiful.
Yeah, okay. So David has been posting all these beautiful stories from children in Gaza for several weeks now, and they're absolutely beautiful. And he invited me to write directly to children of Gaza, and I thought about it for almost 2 weeks now, and this is what I came up with.
Nicholas, can I request that you come close to your microphone? I don't know if it's just my computer, but it's a tiny bit quiet.
Okay. Children of Gaza. Your voice is like a gurgling brook, wearing down sharp stones. Your voice is like a thundering waterfall, bending straight light into colorful circles. Your voice is like a drop of dew, magnifying the leaf. Your voice is like soft rain falling into my withered garden. Your voice is like ocean waves calling to prayer. Your voice is like a dripping faucet, commanding attention. Your voice is like a puddle in whose reflection I see myself.
These are such beautiful words. Thank you. And later I'm going to be sharing those words with all of the teachers that I know in Gaza, and hopefully some of those words will also reach their children that they've taught. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I think we are really coming to the last stages of the event. I think that there may be somebody in the room who hasn't had a chance to tell a story or recite a poem, or who has already done one earlier, who might like to just give us something very brief before I close with another poem. So I'm just wondering if there's anybody who's got an urge to share something else.
David?
Sarah.
I don't know, because the story I tell, the only story I tell that I have for peace, but it's a very common one, and I didn't feel confident offering it because maybe someone's already told it. I think Alan told it in the last session, but a very different version.
Sarah, we don't care. Please tell
No?
it.
In fact,
even if it's repeated or it's famous.
Yeah,
please.
Exactly. And in fact, it's not just that we don't care. I actually love hearing a story that I already know told by another storyteller, because I discover new things in it.
Okay.
Tell us a story that we may have heard before, please.
Okay, no, you probably, well, it's a well-known story, and I don't actually know the title. So last time I told it, and in a session where I told the title of each story, I called it an international story for peace. Well, there were once two brothers, and these two brothers, like often happens with brothers, they kind of argued a lot. They argued many times. The thing is that they would always make up again, no matter how bad their argument was. At the end of the day, they were brothers, they loved each other dearly, and they would always make up. Well, I say always, the thing is that a day came when they were already adults, they were living in separate homes, when they had an argument that was so bad. I mean, it was like nothing that had ever happened to them before. They started insulting each other. They said cruel words. They even ended up hitting each other, and it became so bad that finally one of the brothers looked at his brother and said, "You know what? You are no longer my brother. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to speak to you again. You are not my brother." The other brother said, "Well, good, because I am not your brother either, and I don't want to see you again." And the two brothers went to their separate houses. They kept their doors closed and they didn't talk. They didn't see each other. They had nothing to do with each other. And days went by until one day the oldest brother was in his house when he heard there was a knock at the door. And when he opened the door, he saw an old man there with long white hair, a white beard, with a toolbox in his hands. And this man said, "I'm a traveling carpenter. Is there anything here on your farm that needs fixing or that needs building?" And at first the brother was about to turn him away, but then he said, "Well, actually, yes, there is something I would like you to build for me." And he took the old man down to a river. You see, there was a river that separated the land that the two brothers lived on. He said, "I would like you to build something for me here. I would like you to build me a wall. And I want this wall to be long. I want this wall to be tall." "I see," said the old man, "but can I ask you why you want a wall here?" "Well," said the man, "over there is a house. I do not want to see that house. I do not want to have to see the person living in that house ever again. Please make this wall tall and make it long." Well, the next day, the brother went off to the market, leaving the old man with all the wood he needed to build this wall. When he came back, to his surprise, to his shock, I must say, there was no wall. There was no wall at all. What do you think there was? There was a bridge. And he looked at the old man and he was about to start shouting at him and saying, "Why did you build a bridge when I asked you to build a wall?" When who should come running across the field, running across the bridge, but his youngest brother, who threw his arms around him and said, "Look at you. Now I understand. You are my older brother. Why, of course, you would do a thing like that. If it had been me, I would probably have built a wall instead of a bridge, but look at you. How I love you, my older brother." And with that, he turned around and he went back to his house. The older brother remained in silence for some time, and then he looked at the old man and he said, "Why, I thank you for building this bridge. I thank you for bringing my brother and I back together. Thank you. Will you please stay here with me?" "I cannot stay," said the old man. "Tomorrow morning I must be on my way." "But why?" said the brother. "Stay here. You will never feel cold again. You will never be hungry again. I will give you a roof over your head and you can work for me here on my farm. I cannot stay, said the old man. I must continue traveling, for there are many, many bridges that need to be built.
There are many bridges that need to be built.
And that's my story and a prayer for all the people building bridges in the world and all the people in need of having bridges built for them. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
You've encapsulated what this is all about, Sarah.
That's the first time I've heard that story.
Ah.
And then what a gift. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And like we said before, there are as many different stories as there are different mouths to tell it, because it's just lovely to hear that told through by you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Sarah, are you in your home in Spain, or are you visiting Scotland at the moment?
No, I'm in Spain.
You're in Spain.
Yeah.
At least Navidad in Spain.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Susanna, is there something that you would like to share?
Can't unmute. Yeah, yes, now it works. I have something I can try because I never translated it yet, but I can just give it a go.
You can do it in German if you want to.
I tried in English. It should work. So I take it you all know the story how Mary and Joseph had to move to get counted, and when they didn't find a place to stay and so on. And in Germany, there's an extended Christmas story where they 3 times knock at doors at hostels and they always get sent away. We have no space and you don't have any money, go away, sort of thing. And this story is about a small village, and there was a group of people doing this nativity play and they were practicing, and during the rehearsals, there was a young man who was not so very clever, but he had a really kind heart. And he was going to be one of these landlords who sends Mary and Joseph away. And he was not very happy because he didn't find it easy just to send people away who were asking for help. And during the rehearsals, he always tried and did his best and says, go away, I don't want you, we have no space for you. And then finally, it was Christmas Eve, and everyone was coming to church for the Christmas service, and they were doing the nativity play. And this young man, at this night, he couldn't help himself. So when Mary and Joseph knocked at his door, he opened the door and says, hello, what can I do for you? And they said, do you have a room for us? And he said, yes, of course, we will make space. Please come in. And of course, that cracked the whole nativity play. But from then on in this village, they always played this new nativity play. And it was named after this young man, Niels. It was Niels' nativity play.
What did the innkeeper say? What were his exact words that we can all repeat?
What were his? Of course, I have space. It's already cramped, but we make space for you.
We'll make space for you. Can we all say that?
We'll make space for you.
We'll make space for you.
We'll make space for you.
We'll make space for you. Place for you.
It was a bit short because I just cracked up as I went, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway.
It's perfect.
Thank you.
Mariana, Argentina, I know you haven't come with a story or a poem prepared, but is there something you would just like to say to the world? Because we all want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice, Mariella. I love your voice.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't even know if my microphone was working. Yeah, hello everybody. No,
Hi,
I'm
Mariella.
just very happy to be here and to be sharing this feeling of sending peace to areas in conflicts. I'm very happy to be here. My husband has also been listening here with me, hiding in the dark.
Hi.
He's also learning English,
Hello.
so he's been enjoying your stories.
Un placer
Wait a minute.
conocerle.
No, there. There.
Hi.
There.
Hi.
Qué buena manera aprender inglés.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
A good way to learn English. Listening to
Yes,
stories.
yes. I caught some, not all the stories, but I caught the idea of all of them. And as you said, David, it's a perfect way to practice English.
Exactly.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for being
Thank
with
you.
us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And just to close our Storytelling for Peace event, I'd like to represent teachers from Palestine. I've got to know about 25, I would say, teachers quite well. Most of those 25 have done courses that I've run called Creative and Engaging Storytelling for Teachers over the last 3 years. And it's through those teachers that I've met children from Gaza and the West Bank and learned stories from them. So this is for all of you teachers. And one teacher I know especially well is Haneen Jadala Khaled. This is Haneen. And this is a still from the last event we did. In October, Haneen and I co-hosted an event here at the World Storytelling Cafe, and the title of that event was A Call for Peace. And we invited teachers, storytellers who, like me, have been volunteering and working with children in Gaza, especially over the last few years, and teachers who had also been on courses alongside teachers from Gaza and had got to know them and got to know you, teachers in Gaza. So there was a sense of a friendship and a bond, and we wanted to share stories in that call for peace. And Haneen, at that time in October, you were able to be there and to co-host it, but things have got increasingly difficult. And I know you're going to be listening to this recording later. That's why I'm saying you, Haneen. Haneen's working in the UK while applying for your PhD. You've just completed your master's. And because you got the scholarship to come to the UK and study at university, you had to be separated from your husband and young boys, Yamen and Yazan, who are back in Gaza. And you're in communication with your boys, and most days you're able to get messages back and forth. And at the close of A Call for Peace, you chose to recite this poem. And I know it means a lot to you, and I know it means a lot to all Palestinian people. It's by the great Palestinian poem Mahmoud Darwish, and it's the poem Think of Others. And it inspired the image for this event, candle. And as Haneen did when she recited the poem, I would invite you to repeat the last line after me, the very last line of the poem. So get ready to switch on your microphones. Think of others. As you prepare your breakfast, think of others. Do not forget the pigeons' food. As you conduct your wars, think of others. Do not forget those who seek peace. As you pay your water bill, think of others, those who are nursed by clouds. As you return home to your home, think of others. Do not forget the people of the camps. As you sleep and count the stars, think of others, those who have nowhere to sleep as you liberate yourself in metaphor, think of others, those who have lost the right to speak. As you think of others far away, think of yourself. Say, if only I were a candle in the dark. If only
I were
I wear a candle in the dark.
Candle in the dark.
If only.
And we, peace seekers, peacemakers, that's what we are. That's what we can be. That's something we can offer. So thank you for joining us today for Storytelling for Peace. Thank you to the World Storytelling Cafe. Thank you to all of the people here in the Zoom room who've been contributing, opening your hearts. And thank you very much to all of you who are listening live or in the recording around the world. And I hope at some point people who aren't able to hear, who aren't able to listen live, will have the chance to hear these words as well. And Simona, can I ask you to say some final words as well?
I just want to say thanks to all of you listening and here in the room, and to all of you who shared stories, because if only there were all of the people in the world were like you, peacemakers and peace seekers, it would be a wonderful world, and there wouldn't be a need to do this. So thank you for being who you are. Please keep sharing your wish for peace, because we really need it. Thank you.
Feel free to switch on your microphones and say a couple of words if you would like to, and then we'll close the meeting.
Yes, this is Nayana. I have a wish. Each of us has our own home, our own nation, our own set of eyes, our own family. And I've been learning about what's systemic racism or systemic anything. We can only see what we have learned to see and what system we are in. And I have a prayer that we can all raise our eyes higher than just our one location, higher than just the world, raise our eyes to see everything, so that peace would mean we don't have to take sides, that we're all here for each other, and that we could have peace and health and wellness for children and ourselves everywhere. Thank you.
This is Baba C. Asante Sana. Thank you very much. Once again, the World Storytelling Cafe.com has been a platform for reminding us of the power of storytelling and how it unites us. And once again, as someone mentioned earlier, storytellers, the more of us there are, the more of us that share, the better the world is. So the hope and the perseverance that we generate on this platform reverberates. And I think that the world is a better place because of storytellers, and hope is eternal. I think that the world is a better place because we're in it, we share it, and we encourage what we do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got to add one more thing. So many of us are celebrating Christmas. I celebrate Kwanzaa. I put a generic tag in there so you can learn a little bit about Kwanzaa. But many of the principles that we've talked about today are reflected in Kwanzaa. I just want to share that as well. Asante San.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Thank you. Happy Kwanzaa, happy holiday, happy New Year. Oh, to everybody, may 2024 bring you all that you need, if not all that you want.
dedicated to the children, dedicated to Fatima.
I I don't have much to say, but I think the fact that our poem was read in 6 languages was spot on great. Thank you.
7. We have 7, Gerard. Even
Bengali, I forgot it is 7. You're right.
So I wonder how many languages there are in the world.
Thousands.
So may we make this poem reach out to all of those who speak those thousands of languages, and may it be translated.
Thank you for saying that, Diana. That means a lot. Thank you. In Marrakesh, thank you for flying the magic carpet around the world so expertly as you always do. And when you're ready, Walid, I think we can fly away and go and enjoy the festivities of however you celebrate this midwinter season in peace, as much as it's possible for you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
To be continued.
Salam shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Until the next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye, all. See you
Let
soon.
go, let go, let go.
Let go.
Loosen, baby. You don't have to carry
the weight of
the weight of the world in your
your
muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
See out. Stay safe, my friend. Happy holiday to you and Happy New Year.